I took my inhaler, but.
Yeah.
Oh, 6:30, thanks, guys. All right. The girl speak. Start with the pledge of allegiance, are we on? Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, well, welcome everyone. And Charlie, you can do the audience introduction, starting with you.
Yes.
Heidi Connolly, Director of Special Services for the district.
Thank you. We do have an adjustment to the agenda. Could I get a motion, please?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Thank you. Consideration of the minutes of the November 25th, 2025 meeting. Could I get a motion, please? And a second? Comments, questions, revisions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed, non-voting? Okay. Public comment. This is the time the public may make a comment.
You're quiet.
Okey dokey, communications.
I have no new communications.
Old business, any update, Bruce?
Yes, we met this month. We start out the meeting with a moment of silence. We lost two members that passed away. One of them was a Mark Dupree. He was a former staff member as well as a member of the Region 9. And then we also, and we must know as well, Brian Keene's grandfather passed away. So we took a moment for silence for that. The committees, most of the committees really haven't met. The finance committee is in the process of continuing working with the teachers' contract. We got an update from Dave Murphy on his adult education program and the updates on the satellite program, as well as his new graduate. So his program is blossoming quite well, doing quite well for the area. The superintendent gave her report. She met with all the other superintendents. They talked during their meeting, they talked about Region 9's water issue, which is still ongoing. The superintendents asked Region 9 if there was any chance they could get their budget completed by mid-March. I'll be honest with you.
Hours per month. She kind of laughed at us.
Don't hold your breath, but we'll do our best, but we're in the same boat as everybody else. RSU today reported also that RSU 10 will be starting their early dismissals for organizing and packing, but they'll be running an extra bus to the Region 9 students, because a lot of times with Region 9 students, it's very hard to make up some of their programs. It's a lot of it's hands-on, so there's just no way to do it. Also, Deb informed the superintendents that 3 of the RSU 10 towns are looking to withdraw from the district. And then Deb also announced that she is retiring at the end of this school year. They asked a little bit about why Region 9 went to a remote day when other schools went with school closed. With Region 9, again, it's one of those things that it's pretty hard to put things on the back burner and not go if they're able to do remote and keep the program so that they keep kids on top of everything. They try their best to do that. So it was kind of the superintendent understood when Brenda was coming from with what I understood. So she's trying to work with everybody. The Halloween walk that we had this in November, it went really well. I mean, October, there were over 833 people who went through the Halloween walk. So you can see it was pretty successful. Region 9's annual light show is taking place December 16th and 17th from 5 to 7:30. They usually do quite a job in displaying things. So if you're out that evening, take a ride up through. You get to ride through and see all the hard work that everyone has done on it. The culinary arts programs prepare the Thanksgiving dinner for all Region 9 students over two days. Our CNN instructor, Wendy Hebert, received national recognition, recognized by the Daisy Award to run the hospital. She was nominated by a patient of the hospital, so it was pretty honorable than what went on. We have a new board member that joined our board of directors for representing RSU 10. We had a few executive sessions, which obviously I cannot go in on, and that pretty well sums it up.
Any questions for Bruce? Hi, Tina.
Can I make one
Yeah,
comment on it? So one of the things that Brenda explained to us that we didn't realize is, residents, because we as sending schools have to feed on a remote school day. So that was our question, was like, how can you have a remote school day when we're not providing food for kids that are attending there? But they don't belong to the lunch program, so they work under different rules and regulations, so she said they don't have to provide lunch, so they can have remote days when we can't with them, help the school yet. Brian's running a little late.
Yeah.
Skip that.
yeah. Discussion around school board self-evaluation.
So this is something I put this as your, links to your policy around it. And you're supposed to evaluate yourselves as a board every year. Last year, we did a Google form and then we brought the results here and then you talked about it in open format. But we don't have to do a Google form, so the board just has to decide how they want to go about preparing to have in January an evaluations of yourselves.
No, oh, you probably don't know how many. I mean, most of you are doing digital. I don't like Google for filling it out. Oh, and it gets yourself. You're one of the two.
Yeah.
That's all right. You're a little stressed. We have our most we ever had, so. What do people feel? I mean,
It's a good place to start.
yeah, and it's productive, because once we come with it, then we discuss, okay, what do you mean, what is this, and other ideas come up. Because it's a good discussion, how we run things, what we can do better, what is missing, okay.
Okay, so I'll send out a form then, and if you can fill it out, and we'll have the results ready for the first meeting in January. The board itself.
Okay. Next is which Rachel put, and we wanted to have what we can do about the drugs in our schools. I mean, we have policies that are very, very strict of what they do and what, with the consequences. And like Pam said, when they have it on their person, it's a little harder than the law, the things, so, all right. I don't have ideas, there we go.
Well, so we've expelled a few kids. And one of the reoccurring questions from some of us board members is where you get them. I don't know, I'm comfortable saying out loud that I think parents are giving it to the kids. I don't say every parent's doing that, but I'm pretty comfortable saying that that's what's happening. And I think it's tough when parents are sending conflicting messages. It's okay to do it here or there. Don't bring it to school. And you should go without saying, don't bring it to school, but, the big question that's come up is, kids are saying, oh, I got it here at school. Well, how are we gonna address that? I think that's the real question is, it'd be nice if we could root out. There's always gonna be some kids gonna bring in something, right? But we should root that out, and I think there should be an effort to, I don't know, search the school. You ought to set an expectation that this is a very serious thing. This is not, there's no intent to keep expelling children. Like, let's try to get the underlying problem, just keeping it right off the property. And having an expectation that maybe at any given moment, you might be checked out to find if you have drugs on you. It's not a new issue either. This happened in my junior year when I came here to Durga. The principal then was at the time trying to do the same thing, so we have vague plans back then, but something should be done and we should take it very seriously.
Go ahead, 'cause you're the.
So the board had asked about canines, and I shared a little bit of this before we met, but I did meet with Officer Steve and Canine Division Deputy Nick. About the idea of having a canine search at the high school. As it turns out, for a number of reasons, that is not necessarily a viable option, with the current canine division. We do think that it would be nice for them to come in and do a demo, so the kids know that that's like an avenue that could be explored, but at this point in time, it's not necessarily the best avenue for finding, what we're seeing is mostly nicotine and pot in our school. So that might not be the best way to search for those two items. I do want to also say that Caitlin and I met with Rachel Buck to talk about, like, what can we do with these kids that are being caught with drugs? We're trying to brainstorm an array of supports because none of us feels good about expelling students. And we understand that we need to hold students accountable and their families accountable, but it really disengages students from school. And when you're out for any length of time, it increases your chances of becoming a school dropout. So we were looking at, like, what ways might we be able to do contained in-school suspensions for drug violations as opposed to out of school, because obviously when they're out of school, they have more access to drugs than if they're contained without in school. Obviously that would cost money to have people that would be able to do that. I started conversations with our neighboring districts around, would it be possible to have a regional program? This would be a surprise to Brenda Gammon if she's listening tonight, but we were thinking, even I was thinking that maybe that regional program could be housed in a room at Region 9, because the buses all go there. Could we collectively, between the regions, hire a social worker that would deal with kids that were suspended or expelled? They meet there every day, have their lessons, and have drug rehab program at the same time. Like, I really feel like we really have to seriously look at, with the increase of situations of them becoming suspended and expelled, how do we keep these kids not in our schools, but engaged with our schools, with their education moving forward? So I just want to put that out there, that that's something we're starting to talk about. I'll be talking to Brenda about it at our January meeting. I don't know, I really feel strongly that we need to do something. I know Rachel, I've asked Rachel to look for a DFC grant, to see if we could even hire a social worker next year and have that marketed here at Darrell High School and have that person available. Again, we need to get the kids out of the mainstream. They need to know they can't have it at school, but I'm really concerned about the number of kids that are having their education interrupted by their own fault. Like, I'm not saying that, but it's also like, I know that they become a higher risk of not completing their education. So just those are some things that we're working on behind the scenes to figure out. Rachel?
Yeah, so, just on that note, also, I'm having a meeting tomorrow with another group that's a nonprofit that is getting use of a building in Dixfield, and they are working, doing after-school crafts activities, pool, whatever. And maybe being able to, like, incorporate some twice those program for this. It's all in the talks, but it is a nonprofit group already, so maybe with some type of grants and other to add some kind of recovery or whatever. It's just in the talks, but anyways, we're having a meeting tomorrow. So I'm trying to look at both options. The same as you guys, my problem is that the emotional, whatever stress that was put on to us and over the last month or two of watching the families being taken apart also with not able to go to work or lose their income or whatever. And yes, maybe there was one on the other side or not, but what I saw was there was no viable answer to the situation that already happened, and it was still gonna continue to be a problem that is unsolved in the school itself, is what's bothering us. So what I don't understand, and I guess my question is like, what is going on today or last month or whatever inside right now the high school? Or middle school, because I'm sure it's starting before that. Step by step process, like what's going on now to prevent or to look for or to, do we know this situation? Like, what do we have going on right now? And where do we go from there? Like, could you give that answer, because I'm confused.
Yep, so both the middle school and the high school have vape detectors in the bathrooms. So.
But they're not working, are they all working? Like,
They were.
They
They
were.
were, they were. I felt like Pavlov's dogs when I was the principal, because they went
Okay.
off quite regularly, and that's when you go and you. Stand outside, see who walks out, and then if you don't catch them, you watch the video. So that we have that going on. We have, obviously an SRO that we didn't used to have, that we are able to do that. We've done some, days around. Drug prevention, in our schools. We also have, we have the policies that we're following, and then we have. We have bag searches if there is just cause, and like, we're trying to stay on top of it, but it's really. I am not making excuses for anybody, but having been the principal for 5 years, I can tell you that. The invention of vapes made it really challenging to. Find it unless they have it out or it's in a place where there's a vape detector, because. Vapes are very small, they're very easy to hide, and most of the kids are smart enough now that they have them on their person and not in their bags, so. I mean, we're not going to do a hands-on check of anybody, like that's not going to happen in our public schools. So I feel like we're doing lots of things. And obviously if a kid gets caught, the first time they have the opportunity to do a 6-week drug cessation program instead of having a out of district, out of school suspension. Second time they're caught, they meet with Miss Buck and continue with the counseling around like why are you making these kind of choices, kind of things. So that's what's happening now, but we have. I shared before that in our last My House data. We had almost 50% of our students indicating that they live in a household with one or more addicted adults. And we just got our new My House data that will get a presentation organized at some point, and it hasn't gone down. Like it's a.
Are they vapes metal? Are they detectable by metal? Because what I see, or what we've talked about is that, yes, the vape goes off. And the last man standing gets caught with it. Because they were all smoking, but somebody gets caught with it, but that may not be the person who actually brought it to school. Right? And then somebody is still bringing them to school, but are they metal, are they detectable in any other shape or form?
Some of them do have metal, some of them do not have metal.
So,
I
I think that there are programs in place to deter these kids from using tobacco, drugs. I mean, I've got kids in the school, so I know that it's happening. They do know better. But I think that we need to put some responsibility on the parents. I mean, from what I have seen
Sure. I'm not down.
is that, a lot of the parents are like. And they offer nothing, which means there's, to me, that's an omission of something, either you're not controlling your kids, you don't care to control your kids. Or parent them in any way, to me, that's what it looks like, So, I mean, I feel like the school's doing everything they legally can. I mean, including, getting grants and stuff and programs and. I mean, I feel like they've done a lot to try and keep kids from making those choices, but when it comes down to it, they're still gonna make the choices. There's gonna be some kid who brings it from home, and none of them did it, and they always got it from somebody else. But I don't know what else could be done outside of random searches, and I think that we have some legal issues.
Yeah, our policy says you have to have just cause, and typically, if we're gonna do a search, we call the parents, if,
Yeah.
if we possibly can get hold of somebody.
Right.
Because these are underage people that we're dealing with for the.
All right,
Right.
say, or you touch stuff.
You talked about going to Rachel. Now, some of the ones that we came, their first and second offense was in the middle school.
Yep.
So that's pretty young, and I know, but I did not a girl. But we,
That's what I think.
so. I assume they do the same steps, they meet with somebody
They do
and
the same steps there. Yep.
do they have in the area, because I'm not aware of area, I know adult. do they have drug sensation things for kids that are 14, 13, 12? You know, cause I remember from one person who they had really didn't work. So is it geared for adults or is it just?
So. It's harder when they're like 11, 12, 13,
Yeah.
for sure. But we have a lot of area people that we lean on. Met with them again this morning. Like we have Healthy Oxford, we have River Valley Healthy, we have there the Monty Center. Like we meet pretty regularly to talk about like what's out there for kids and. You know, it's harder when they get younger for sure.
Brad?
So when we just the vape and they say I got on school, how hard are we pressing to find out
So
who that is?
we always try to get down to the bottom of where it came from. I will tell you that they are really reluctant to snitch, like that's the word that they'll use. And even when you're like, well, you're the one that's holding this, you're the one that's going to be. And they'll take it before they. Will give other people's names for the most part. There's occasionally you can come up with somebody that will. You know, give you some information, but mostly they won't. And I think that. I'm not saying. I don't want to pass the buck too much, but I think it's easy to say someone else brought it. And I'm not sure that that's always the case.
Can we form a new committee where we can sit down and start working on a plan that's like somewhere with this, like, we're building, not just their punishment, but building a, where they're not getting a loss of education and we're also trying to make the problems on both on the parent side and on the child side, because I do agree there needs to be some kind of pressure on the parent side. Like, I don't know if we need to do new policies for that also, but also maybe so that we're also incorporating them, but they're not losing their education at the same time. But I definitely think we need to have them in parent policy too.
We can't punish them.
You
Well,
can't force parents,
No.
I mean, they're adults.
Can't the
That
resource officer
Yeah.
arrest them and put them in jail?
Yeah.
For parents and say, come bail them out, you
For
can't
what?
approve.
they have to give approved, because they're breaking the law. I mean.
Well, if they're caught with
But some of
drugs,
them,
that's breaking the law.
It's still possession. They've got nicotine, they're not allowed to have it.
Yeah, it's against the law, so put them in jail and then have the parents have to go bail them out. See if the parents like that.
I know.
I definitely don't want them to lose education, so I like that you've already thought, maybe there's another way that they can have in school. You know what I
We're
mean?
working on it.
I know,
The
the
problem is
good.
everything costs money,
The thought is
to
good,
be clear.
and but putting money back into their education is something that I would be. Open to, like, looking at the budget somehow to do that, where we're not taking them to the street, but they are losing privilege. Yeah, and I'm definitely looking at it, you know, meeting with this program tomorrow and seeing what could happen. In this house, but, I mean, just so we keep this door open is what I'm asking, like, we could revisit it, or just maybe we could have towards it.
I think we give the kids 3 times. Even the 3rd time, we give them 2 or 3. To get focused to stay in the school. And it's not just our school, we live in a region with a lot of drugs and a lot of issues. We read paper, you know, it's just getting the message, and it's hard because. When, you know, like she said from the survey, they're exposed. And they're aware. And I don't know how cause I think we put out the, message that's not tolerated. Cause that's why we've had, I think, with the resource officer, and I remember when we were having so much trouble. Because we couldn't tell what a vape was, because Pam said, see this, look at this is a vape. So that's when we had to get the vape detector, which were not cheap for both schools. So, I mean, we got the dropout prevention committee, which works how to keep these kids in school. And when we expel, unless the kid is special needs or has an IEP, are we responsible? But I think that we have done above and beyond and made sure they get their work, they have access. So I don't know what, we have things in place. Is getting it, the word out and getting it exposed and saying, this isn't cool and.
Would it be up to the policy committee to say, we want these kids arrested and put in jail and let the parents pick them up?
Well, it already says that anything that is illegal, they call the police. What the police does, and I may be wrong, you can correct me, what they do is their policy, you know what I mean?
Right.
I do not know what they do anymore.
I can't tell any police officer, including the SRO. To arrest anybody, like that is not my jurisdiction, all we do is we report anything that's illegal to the SRO or to. In the start,
If we
sheriff,
talk with him, if we brought him and made him understand that we gotta get at the parents. If the parents are the problem, well, if they get called to bail a kid up once a month. Maybe it would be a problem to them and they would.
I feel like the SRO is aware, like, I feel like this is a well-discussed thing, I mean, it's a problem. I'm sure we're not the only school system dealing with it, and I think that the SRO can only do so much with the parents. And he can't just arrest children all the time, you know what I mean, unless he has probable cause.
Probable cause would be caught catching them with drugs.
I would like to focus. My effort as always on what we can control.
Yeah.
And what we can control is. What happens in our school district, and we can control. If a student gets suspended or expelled, we could potentially control. Whether they're expelled or if they go into an alternate program, like those are the things we have control over. I don't have any control over what happens once I refer it to a police officer. So I would love to focus our efforts, and I guess, like, I don't wanna take anybody out of it, but I feel like. We've got a good conversation started about some possible things that we could look at, moving forward, because again, Caitlin and Rachel and I, none of us feel good about. Having kids suspended or expelled, that's not what we want for our school students, so. I'm not saying I wouldn't want to have a committee, but I feel like we have some good ideas to start with, and I would like to try to have some time to flesh those out. And maybe bring back to the board a recommendation of this is what we would like to see, and that might mean adjusting the policy slightly, because it may not be expulsion as much as going into a different program that we're on. Like, I would like to have some time to continue to work through that, because I feel like that would be what would be in the best interest of our students. Still gives very clearly that drugs are not allowed here, we're not gonna tolerate it, you're gonna go in front of the board could potentially send you to an alternate program, or the board could expel you, like still could be an option, but I would like to have some time to think through and come back to you with some recommendations on what we might be able to do for a program, but that's.
Carl,
So recently, we unfortunately expelled 2 children, right? Or adults, whatever we have. That had to resonate through the school? Has there been more first instances of vapes, or have you noticed, have you heard anything?
I have not
Is
been
it
informed.
no difference?
I have not been informed of any new cases that are approaching.
But I mean, has the expulsions maybe curtailed them from bringing the stuff to school or getting caught with it, or? Have you heard anything on that? What
I
are your
have not
thoughts?
heard that there's any increase.
You know what I
over.
mean? Because even the worst parent is gonna be upset if their kid is expelled from school. So if we took a hard line, and we gave a lot of people, like, you get 3 chances, right? We gave extra chances and this, and it was very close on whether we were gonna expel these kids anyway. There was a lot of, thoughts that we shouldn't expel them, but I feel it 3 times, that's quite a few times. And if you go the 4th time, you're expelled, and that might stop them from bringing this stuff to school. That's my thoughts.
I guess the question is other kids in the school aware that these young people are getting expelled and why? So we,
Can't
It
say,
happened in executive session,
Right.
we would never share it.
right,
They are not, like, they're high school kids that are getting expelled and they share information.
Yeah.
So
it's-
I'm pretty sure people are aware of it, but we would never
no, but
share that information.
I feel three strikes is, 3 strikes and you're out. It's like
maybe we need
baseball.
to put the 3 strikes up and put them on posters and just put them. Maybe it'll bring it their attention and that would be low cost,
Yeah, say 3, you're here.
you know? Here, we want you here, but if you do this, this is what's gonna happen. I don't know.
You know, it'd be interesting, because they fill out the survey anonymously, but have input from the students.
Well, shouldn't the
Some
school council
should want
work
them
on that?
that's
That's
in it,
part-
yeah,
part of their job to,
get some,
That'd be a really great community service.
yeah,
I think cost us. So, yeah.
to get their input. Bruce?
I mean, listening to all the discussion is all good information. I mean, we're looking at what we can do to take an ongoing and increasing problem and trying to resolve an answer to it. Education is gonna be the best thing that we can do, and I think as sad as it was to expel these students, I think Carl hit the nail on the head. I think it's gone through the schools. I think they've seen that now that we are not gonna tolerate it. They've seen kids get their chances, 3 chances, and finally we took a hard stand on them. Did I like seeing someone being expelled? Absolutely not. But the other question comes in today, if we gave the person another chance, it just gives us, it gives the students a feeling that, oh, I can just keep doing this because we're getting away with it. I think these expulsions have gone through the hallways. I think the kids are well aware that, wow, I'm desiring, I've got to have this stuff, but I'm gonna get expelled if I get caught.
There
And I
are
think maybe it
consequences,
might be starting to help things out. I might be wrong, but I think education, keeping these kids aware, keep it publicized from all directions that we will not tolerate it. If you get caught, you may get certain things at the beginning, but if it does it more than that, you could be asked to leave our school. You may be looking for an alternative program. We've done it to kids. They obviously see it's been done. Hopefully, maybe that's gonna be a little bit of a turning point.
I think you're missing the point. It's not the point of being expelled. It's the point that we don't have any programs in our counties for the children to go to. I come from Fort Lauderdale, where there are many programs for schools.
There's also more money
Alternative
there though.
schools.
We don't have that.
I understand, but there are places for children to go to where they don't lose their entire future. And my point is there are nothing here for these children to go to. So as educators, as people, we're throwing them to the street. I agree with the point they need to be expelled. That's not saying that that is not the point. My point is that we don't have anything alternative for them to do. And so as people who are supposed to be supporting the future of the children, we are still with no answer of what to do with them, and we are throwing away their future. They are throwing away their future. Yes, absolutely. But my point is that as Pam is still saying, give me time, I'm looking for, an alternative. I feel that 1 year, 6 months, we've lost them. They're gone. We really have. And that's my thought. I understand where everybody's coming from, that you've made a policy and this is true, yes, I'm not fighting your fight, your policies are right. But in this place where we live and where we are now, there is nothing else for
They could apply for another school.
They cannot.
They cannot.
They cannot go to another school in the state of Maine when they're expelled from their
Yes.
school without finishing the
They
state.
choose.
plan at this. point.
Oh, the plan, but when they're done the plan, because we've accepted.
so I have a question. So this one goes on hand in hand. So when they're expelled, I was under the impression that they're getting some kind of direction as far as homeschooling information. Is that incorrect?
So we give, last time I popped up and I talked to the mother in the hallway and said, please call me next week, because I'd like to help you figure out what to do. And so we do try to give them some direction on how they could continue to get the education,
Okay.
but. And if they have an IEP and we expel them, then we have to provide
Some kind of.
the education.
Yeah, we have to.
So that was my only, I don't mean to like say you're doing this wrong, you're doing this wrong, no, the policy isn't wrong. My part is that we use them after a few months, they're gone.
Right.
Literally, I mean, and that was my thought. I just wanted to clarify.
I hear what you're saying.
And we are working on that, like I would love to come back to the board with a recommendation on.
They can come back next, in September, correct? Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
what we put, because a
Maybe-
long time ago, they
Maybe
did
someone
that.
could just send them a letter, hey, just go back.
And then you.
It's too late,
Curious to see what happens. Well,
It's just
they
too
know
late. That's just too late, Carl,
Yeah.
You don't know that until September.
that's too late.
I would think a little self-reflection and sitting around for a year. There is possible, they can get jobs and everything, which might be just as well off for them, better than school, but, see what happens.
There's one called Easy Homeschool, it's completely free, that's to become 12 education. They can do it.
I have some.
You do, okay.
Gets me thinking about, bullying. And. I think there's been a, tell me if I'm wrong, anybody that's in the schools today, I know there's still bullying that goes on, this is related to this issue, but there's still bullying that goes on, but I suspect bullying is different than maybe when some of us were coming up. And that I noticed with my boys that the culture among the students was more accepting, I think maybe a little less cliquey. Like when I was a kid. And I don't know that bullying certainly never gonna be solved, but I think it's far less of an issue than I think it used to be. And the kids are coaching each other. If someone was running around here saying nasty things to other people, I think there is a tendency, and I've heard this happen here, that kids speak up and call out their peers. It's probably an opportunity for us to a lot of discussion and approach around core values and principles, how we can actually maybe change the culture around drug use. And maybe not to condone cigarette smoking, but drug use more than anything else. And I think that if we spend some time looking at how do we change the culture in here and how do we get kids peer coaching each other, I think we can reduce a lot of that. And I would have to say also that you look at these recovery centers, there's more of them, more drugs, more overdoses, it's not getting better. And I don't know that shoving kids, not shoving kids into programs, but that programs are gonna be the right solution. I think that there needs to be a change in the culture, and staff, this board, the children are gonna drive that, so I think there's work to be done on that. And I know I'm really happy to help push that, because I think the real difference is gonna be made there, because I think we're gonna convince these drug addicted parents, the ones who are really struggling, that, oh, you should just give up drugs because your kid brings a vape to school. Nope. No, I'd love to see that change, but I don't think that's gonna be the case, so there's another way to do it. I think it involves looking at our district very realistically, coming up with some core values and principles that we can push, that will also push the school towards excellence, which we've talked about. It's in our strategic plan. I think it's a way for us to try to make a difference that way, because I'll tell you, as much as I'll take a hard line about expelling kids, I don't like it. I don't like how it feels for the child, I don't like how it feels for the parents. And we had a parent in here at one of these recent meetings outside, you know, crying her eyes out because they've got to give up college now. Because Johnny's gonna be stuck at home all the time. And I hate to see that happen, so I think there's an opportunity.
Think we've given you some
Yep.
directions to come back.
Brian's now here if you want.
Yeah, Brian, update on enrollment? How was the game?
Not good.
Oh, we won't talk about it, my grandson does that, don't talk about that. Yeah. Oh. Oh, we deserve.
Good.
It was a tough game, put it that way.
Ooh,
Yeah, it's close.
ugly. It wasn't like anyways.
Alright, looks like I got it. Alright, so on the front of the page, you'll see our power school counts, compared to the last 2 years. On October 1st, the comparison is in the big box, small box on the side is where we're at today. This is our official power school data. That being said, when we get to the back, I'll talk about our official state data because they are just a touch different. So our overall count for Deerfield Elementary on Power School is down 3 kids. Deerfield Middle, we're down 7. Deerfield High School, we're actually up 10. So district-wide, as of October 1st, we were exactly even with where we were last year. That being said, so our Power School data includes, like for Deerfield High School, there's a few kids in there that are only registered at the high school for taking courses at Region 9. So that's why this number will be a little bit higher than the number we'll talk about in a minute on the backside. So on the bottom, you'll notice homeschool kids, actually went down. I'm sorry, that actually should be an increase, not a decrease. Ignore my coloring on the bottom, apparently I missed those. Actually it increased by 18. In homeschool, our private school increased by 41. Now that sounds like a lot, but it's actually, some of that is an increase, but some of that is also a difference in how we're tracking and keeping that data now. So that isn't necessarily that, hey, we do really have 41 more kids. There are some more kids, but the records that we're keeping now are a touch different than the next years, so it's just a little bit of a change in that. That's why we're seeing such a big jump on private school kids. Off the top of my head, I think there's at least 8 or 9 when I looked through the list real quick this afternoon that I know are definitely. But other than that, like I say, plus or minus.
So the private school is just kids that are in the district that don't go to public schools.
Correct. Yep, they either go to like the River Valley Christian
The way you
Academy.
worded it, I thought.
Yep, some other things like that. There's a few different private schools.
Where were they last year? Like, where was their number last year? Under private schools.
Two.
So like I say, some of the way we kept those records last year is not the same as we are now. Some of it was done on paper, not in Google. So I don't have access to some of that stuff because of the changes, like just keeping that information now versus who was then. So there's just some changes, so I can't say for sure the number. There were 2 on the Google sheet last year, but it could have been more.
I've taken this on this year because now that I'm not the principal, and so I'm facing people, so. I found some people that were just not listed anywhere last year.
Okay, so it's, okay,
Like I said, there were some of those may have been private school last year, we just didn't have that on paper.
There were some that started as homeschool in our district and moved to private school.
Yes.
Sure.
Yep, we've had some that have been in district that went homeschool this year, some that weren't at homeschool that came in back in district. We've had a lot of shifting this year. It's been pretty fluid in all our buildings. Superintendent's agreements are coming into 56, we're down 4. And going out, we're down 2.
What's the superintendent agreement?
Yeah, so if a person wants to, if a person lives in one of our 4 towns and they want their child to go to a different public school, they have to ask my permission to go there. I have to say yes or no, and then that superintendent that would be receiving them has to say yes or no. So in order to change districts, you have to have a superintendent's agreement.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Is it my correct assumption that they are responsible for transportation?
They are 100% responsible for transportation.
But a lot of them like employees, children of another.
Yeah, that happens a lot, happens a lot, yeah. Or the parents work somewhere else and their grandparents live there, so that's where they get on and all
Or-
this, like, there's lots of reasons.
Special extracurricular activities that are not available
Different
either.
classes that.
Better opportunities.
A lot of different reasons.
Yeah.
There's some, we have some with RSU 9, some with RSU 10, some with, 52. We have a couple, with agreements with Andover, a couple with Auburn. So it's a wide range of places. It's not all in one location. But, so that's the basic data. If you turn over on the backside, this is our state EPS, printout for this school year, for October 1, the official count. This is what our funding, for the funding formula will be built on. You'll notice our attending count here is 711 versus the 722 that we have on the other side. Like I said, that's because that figures in or takes out those kids that may be here for only, going to Region 9 or things like that. Because they're figured in under the equivalent instruction column. So we only get, like, if they're only here for, Region 9 at the high school, that's roughly 50%. So we would get a 0.5 for that student instead of a full count. So that would go under the equivalent instruction. We have some kids in district that are here for only a quarter of a day, so there we only get 0.25 for their value. And then there's also a little bit of a difference there when you figure in, either the superintendent agreements, how that funding works, or, we have a couple, or unorganized territory students as well. So that's why the 711 is different. But this will be the number that they officially go out for our October 1 funding. The one number that is different than what they see in front of you, the count economic status, that actually should be 416. We had an email come in last week from Paula Gravel that, there was one student that wasn't coded, and they caught that at the state level, so that's good. That gets us one more. And then it breaks it down, so our special ed count on October 1 was 143 students. And then it shows you pre-K, K-2, et cetera, as you go across this, table. On the bottom is the comparison of October 26, looking back to 25. So you'll notice our attending count was dead even on where we were, the October before. And then our subsidy count was down by 4. Well, the instruction went up.
5 to 24.
I'm sorry, 26 to 25. I say 25.
So you can see FY 25 totals, and underneath that is our FY 26.
Yeah, so the change from 25 to 26. Oh, yeah. Yep. Like I say, economic status increased, special ed count also increased. So our funding for both of those, that should help us a little bit.
Brian, do we get any money if a homeschool comes in for a special class or something? Okay.
That's what the equivalent instruction
Yeah,
is for.
okay.
Yeah, yeah, that, the percentage that's in there, or the point, however much
Yeah.
we get for that student will help us with funding, cover that time that they're in our buildings.
Is the EL English the second language?
Yes, yeah, we currently have none, that are nobody that's coded up in that category.
And in pre-K, we have a current wait list on pre-K for this year. So Charlie and I have let the state know that we're looking at potentially 10 more next year. So they will add that to our ED 279, and then they'll take it out if we don't actually have that. But we are looking at, like, can we extend pre-K next year, so we don't have a wait list.
Initially, I was a little worried about the change in the lunch count, how that was gonna work. When that change was made earlier this year, but
Oh, yeah.
was working with Gina and kind of going back and forth, double, triple, quadruple checking things. We made sure that we included everybody and didn't miss anyone, so it was a little extra legwork, but Secretary for Gina helped and we got it immediately good, so I think we'll do okay.
Any other questions for Brian? Thank you, Brian. Turn the page. Board member comments. That's butter today. You know, when your brain don't want to function. All right, superintendent's report.
Did you message Sarah to let her know she's almost up?
Yep.
So, well, I'm happy to share that we received our first rust grant reimbursement, which is really nice. The installation of a number of Promethean boards has begun in our buildings. Many thanks to Ryan for pursuing that grant and to Mary for leading me through the financial pieces behind that grant. I have been in all three buildings once again in the last couple of weeks. I was able to go and officially visit all four of the Title I ed techs as they're providing instruction to kids for intervention. And as I was going, Charles was like, well, if you're gonna go visit, you might as well do an official observation. So I was able to do some of Charlie's work while I was there, which was great. And I just have to say that we have really solid people. Even the person that came in is a long-term sub in Title I because we took one of our Title I ed techs as a long-term sub in a classroom right now. They all just were really doing a great job. I just continue to be impressed with the dedication of our staff across this district. Like they really do work hard for our kids. I did order your note cards. So they just say you make RSU 56 proud. We talked about this last time. So if you see positive things happening, I will always have Cindy bring some to this board meeting, so you can take some with you if you want, or you can just stop in at central office at any time.
And where to,
You fill it out. Make sure you leave a place for the address.
okay,
If you want us to mail it, we can actually mail it to people's houses, or if you wanted to just go in their mailboxes at school, we can just tuck it in. If you want to use the whole thing and not have it mailed, we can tuck it into their inter-office mail here at school. So be great for the board to be able to start recognizing the people across the district.
I have a tiny comment that I should have said before, but just came.
okay. Your tiny.
Your Christmas concert was amazing. He does a really great job with those kids and I was in awe of the whole thing, just wanted to let you know, that's all.
So that takes my thunder out of the next piece.
Oh,
Last segue.
I am going to state that again, like the middle school and high school choir concerts were amazing. They had them last week. They were absolutely beautiful.
Wonderful.
And then elementary school was also last week, and every single one of them, including the kindergarten kids, they were so well prepared. They had no voices behind them other than their own, and they knew the words and you could hear them and they were clear. They were just really well prepared. We do have our band concerts this Thursday, so if you have time, they are at 6 o'clock. I can get that out, 6 o'clock. Here at the high school, so if you want to hear the band, that will be this week. I am really, really impressed with both Mr. Dunbar and Mr. Hamlin and what they've done for music in this district is just amazing. Next week, if you're in and around the district at all, just know it's our annual Spirit Staff Week. So each day they have an assignment on how they dress for fun. And then the building with the highest percentage of daily participation by the staff members, because usually it's the kids. Kids are invited to join if they want to, but this is staff member Spirit Week, and it's really quite competitive, which is quite interesting because the building with the highest percentage of participation across the week gets to house a rather ugly cougar bobblehead, but they get the joy of putting that in their building for the year, and it's a fun way to end right before the Christmas break. And I will get some pictures to put in the newsletter, which will hopefully go out next Friday. And I am just going to go ahead and do my transfers, and then I will let the administrators come up with the report. So we have Richard Blodgett, is gonna move from a bus driver custodian at Durgo Elementary School to the trip utility position, for building grounds and transportation. And El Couture is gonna move from a special ed tech to the ELA interventionist. Sorry. All right.
So we want Sarah. Sarah, okay, get yourself together.
She didn't really want to hear the presentation.
She's heard it before. That's fine. That's fine. Hi, we have unbelievably made it quickly, it felt like, as a big picture, looking at through the fall seasons. I was like kind of linked and here we are already with our basketball games at home. So, the fall season was, exciting. If I can capture it in one word, each of our programs, at all of our levels have grown. Taking a look, I'm a numbers kind of person, so I kind of do like to compare. This fall, we had, and I don't think Brian, you have one.
I didn't plan home yet.
Enrollment, okay,
Yeah.
perfect. This is
Yeah.
gonna pair well with Brian's enrollment, because I actually don't know what those numbers are, but you're gonna know our enrollment numbers that were participating in school supports and activities. So in the fall, we had 112 students participating in an athletic capacity. And I'll talk about our clubs and activities in just a minute, because those go year round. So that's a little bit different. So what was that number of our enrollment
For,
for the high school?
high school 228.
So looking at that and having 112 kids participating, that's a really solid number. This winter, as of right now, we have 103 who are participating. So that is incredible. Last year, there was a bigger gap between our fall to our winter. Our numbers in the winter have grown. Our Nordic ski team, we just started our seasons a couple weeks ago. They have 11 members this year, as opposed to the 4 or 5 they had last year. So that was an exciting number that has grown. Our cheering team has grown as well, this winter. And our cross-country team this fall grew. And our golf program went from having 6 the year before to 11. So that's exciting to see kids wanting to get involved and in a healthy and fun, productive way. I will say that I am over the moon proud of how our athletes have worked hard. They have represented Deerville with pride. Our boys soccer program this year was awarded the state, or Southern Maine Sportsmanship Award. Their season looks different with successes. And it's not always the number that's in the wins and loss column. They did a phenomenal job representing themselves, even in the toughest of moments. So super proud of them for that. Another thing that I'd love to share, this is actually what was a little bit of my delay coming in. One of my favorite parts about our community is the community. And we show up. Deerville community shows up. And tonight, as you were walking in, you probably saw we're doing an extension of the toy drive that has been put on for our community. And we are giving 70 toys that were collected just tonight by people coming to the basketball game. With 50-50, they contributed half of the Deerville portion was $28. The winner of that said, I'd like to contribute that as well. So that was the whole 50-50 profit was donated back. And then we also put our admission that we charged, that people didn't bring toys, but they still paid the entry fee. So we are putting $208 back towards that. And that just feels really, really great. And that's sort of a part of my vision and my mission that I've talked with my coaches about is how can we do more? We do a lot as coaches and involved with our kids, but how can we be more involved citizens? And that's one of the ways. And so be prepared, looking for coaches from all programs, reaching out and doing community events. A little bit more than we have in the past, because that's part of giving back to our community is huge. looking a little bit back, there were several, and I would be here for a very long time if I listed out every kid that was recognized either at the Mount Valley Conference level, but I am gonna talk about a few who were recognized at the state level and beyond. We had Lana Wade, who was recognized as an all-state field hockey player. We had, well, let's see, because I don't want to forget. Sophia Nino Aguirre was also recognized at the state level for girls soccer. We had multiple cross-country athletes who participated both as individuals and as team. Our boys program qualified again this year to compete at the state as a team. But also we had 2 individuals who qualified for the state level as individuals. That's how it works. If you place in the top certain percentage, they qualify. So we had Stetson Thurston finished in the state 11th, and William Morris won the state. He then went on to race in the New England race, which is the top 6 runners from each state. And out of, I think it was 225 runners that he competed against, he finished, I wrote down 19th. It was 19th out of 253 runners, and he finished that in just about 16 minutes, and that's just over 3 rounds. So speedy right there. Great evolution on his part. Our field hockey season, they finished 6th overall. They made it to the first round of playoffs and had a tough game against Penobscot Valley. Football went to the second round of, they finished 2nd overall, and they made it to the semifinal, which was a close fought game here. Girls soccer also advanced to the playoffs again. Cross country, I just talked about. Boys soccer, we talked about being the sportsmanship award winners, and golf. In addition to their increase in numbers, they had 2 athletes who moved on to the state championship as well. So that's fall in a nutshell. I feel like it was a pretty good success at lots of different levels. Middle school's numbers, this fall, they had, Brian, what was the number for middle school enrollment? Sorry, I wasn't here for that.
173.
173. Okay, so that still looks really great. In the fall, we had 64 participants, which you also factor in, there's several of those students do rec football, so they don't do a school sport also. So that number is a little bit lower, and I had anticipated that because of the number of students who play rec school football. This winter, as of right now, they have 70 athletes who are participating, but we also haven't started our middle school wrestling program. That doesn't start until the end of January. So those numbers will probably change as well. Yeah, and then we've got, this year, we have an increase in numbers of kids in chess club. There were 6 competitors at the first time that we went out this year. And speech and debate has 3 active members. And outing club took 2 trips this fall. Well, one might have gotten rained out now that I think about it, but they had things on the calendar as well. So kids are getting involved, and that's really good to see. So that's been really fun.
Any questions for Sarah? Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else, just let me know. I'm probably gonna pop back out to basketball game. They were.
Is that still during that?
A lot to 5 and a half.
Oh,
We were up 13.
We were a lot.
Nothing when I.
Yes, and I wasn't here. I went over to the middle school for the end of the middle school games over there, so I didn't see the ends. I'll find out
A little.
and I'll.
We won, yeah. You're right. Thank you. When I came in here.
All right, so last year I talked a lot about the state audit that we were a part of. So we were on a 3-year cycle for the Department of Education to come in and audit the special education department. And what that includes is they review sort of a sampling of our IEPs. And that includes the minutes, so the written notice that goes with those, eligibility documents, the full IEP, the invite for the IEP, and just really check to make sure we're following all the state and federal guidance around that. We got the results of the audit in June. And we did actually very well compared to the first audit I was in with the district. They reviewed a total of 68 items, sort of as part of each package of an IEP, and 42 of those items for us were 100% compliant. So that's hard work and really good work being done by your special education teachers. The areas that weren't compliant were things like our eligibility forms, and they were simply things about, you know, you clicked yes, that this issue exists, but you didn't give any verification as to why. So it's some pretty simple corrections that we're working on now. And then our restraint and seclusion policy, the policy committee will see that once I have.
I was gonna say, wait a minute, I didn't hear that one.
It does need to be updated, and so I'm working on comparing what we've got to what the main state management system has in there. Some of it's pretty minor changes, but that was really it for what we needed to correct. So that is a win. Because we're not spending a ton of time this year working on all of those corrections. They're kind of naturally happening as we're going. We're plugging away at finishing it. It's due in April, all of the items, but I just sort of submit as I go, as I've got proof that we've met them. And the other positive is we've now moved to a level of only needing to be reviewed every 4 years. So that buys us 1 more year because we were able to do things compliantly. Our numbers right now are a little bit different from our October 1st count, because I just looked at them day before yesterday, and we're at about 135 for special education students in our district. We've got 8 special ed teachers still, 22 ed techs, and then we have an additional ed tech for speech, and that's across the district. So our numbers are pretty much the same. Our caseloads average for our special ed teachers around 17 a teacher. 17 students on their caseload, and just to put that in perspective, the state says they could have about 35. That's the cap. Now, do I think that's a realistic cap? Absolutely not. As a case manager myself, because I do that with all of our out of district students, I am very aware of all the work that goes into just holding one meeting. So it's a lot. So I'm thrilled that we're at about half here in this district for caseloads. The staff here work incredibly hard to provide really good individualized supports for students. I talked a little bit at the end of last year how we were developing kind of a mini program with the BCBA at Dirigo Elementary School to work with a lot of our students who have an autism identification. We're finding more and more that students are coming into us in pre-K or K with really significant needs. So this is an attempt to try to keep those students in our schools versus having them have to travel. The closest program we have is an hour away to meet those needs. So this is our attempt to do that at this point. It's still definitely a work in progress, but we are in December and all those kids are still in our school. So that is a positive. I also just want to say we've had a couple of special ed teachers out for fairly significant amount of time this year. So I just really want to do kind of a public shout out to our teams in all of our buildings, but specifically high school and elementary school, because they've really chipped in. In some cases, we've been able to get a sub, in some cases we have not. And so other people have been picking things up to try to support and be helpful. And so I just publicly want to acknowledge all of the hard work that your special education staff are doing, from teachers to ed techs to related service providers. And then because I know, and it sounds like some of you do have an awareness of how expulsion impacts a student with an IEP, but I wanted to just make sure I gave you the most recent information I've received from Drummond and Woodsum, which is who we consult with, our lawyers. But essentially, when a student is expelled, we can't expel them from our schools if they've got an IEP. They can be expelled, but we're still obligated to provide IEP services, but we're obligated to provide those with making sure they're getting access to general education in some manner. So that would not be homeschooling. That would be that we have to consider tutoring, or we have to consider some sort of credit recovery program. There are some online programs for that, in addition to providing whatever, we don't have to provide the IEP as exactly as it's written as if they were in the school, but we do have to come together after an expulsion or prior to and talk about what it might look like if they are expelled, or if it's after, what is this going to look like, their programming? But it's coupled with general ed programming. So it's not as simple as, oh, they have an IEP. Okay, special ed land, you're going to do the IEP piece. They actually need to be getting a general education programming for us to give pieces of that IEP. So that can look a variety of ways, and just like IEPs, it's super individualized and done with the full team and the parent involved. But I did, you know, I know we've had some recents that are all year. Well, all year, we're going to have to look at how we're gonna provide special ed services along with general ed programming. Because if a student has an IEP and happens to be expelled for any length of time. I think that was it. I just wanted to make sure that we were transparent. I'm just trying to see, I can read to you specifically what the rule says, which it is, you must provide sufficient services to enable the child to continue to participate in the general ed curriculum, although they are in another setting, and to progress toward meeting the goals in the IEP. So that's the language.
So I probably don't understand it completely, but it sounds like our authority as a board is completely contravened by them having an IEP. If the purpose is for them to not be in the facility involved in the school, how do you provide them general education, and why wouldn't a proper homeschooling program be adequate?
So I wouldn't say you can't expel them, or that this requires that they have to come into the school. I would say we have done tutoring at the local library. We have sometimes done Zoom meetings. And then again, there are programs out there that Pam and I spoke about today that are more sort of credit recovery, kind of helping with the classes they were enrolled in here, is my understanding. So the homeschooling piece can't happen because they have to stay registered with our district. And in order for the homeschooling piece to be at play, they're no longer registered here. But if there isn't, and this is really applying to students with disabilities. So students with IEPs, this doesn't apply to a student who does not have an IEP or an identified disability.
Are you finding these, children through their parents requesting, or is it their, teachers coming and saying this child should be tested, or?
Oh, how we get there?
Right.
It's a variety. There are times where we get parent referrals. Those are less frequent. I would say we get a lot of referrals that are from the classroom teacher.
Right.
Generally, you know, and one of the things I've talked about here is we need to supply general ed interventions. We need to collect data on that.
Right.
So that's all part of law. So we're not supposed to just jump right into, oh, I think this kid is behind. We should make sure they're evaluated.
Yeah.
We're supposed to have tried some interventions, have that data, talk about it at a school-based level. Most of our buildings have a team that a teacher might bring concerns about a student to that team, and they'll recommend trying this or that, and then collecting data for a period of time. But most of our referrals are coming from teachers. Sometimes I will say we have gotten an abundance in the last 2 years of speech referrals. And those come out of screenings often that a direct speech pathologist provides, and then will recommend, yeah, I think we're talking about a disability here. Yeah.
I have a question. So last year we talked about, the, I guess, pilot, but not really, of working with 3 and 4-year-olds. How is that going? Where are we at in terms of implementation of that?
Yeah, so it is going. No 3-year-old is in our building at this time. They're in other preschool programs. And so right now, I've essentially, because we've been down teachers and staff, sort of taken the whole caseload management of that on. But it's going well. I think there are, you know, the Department of Education hasn't made a secret about the fact that they're building the plane while they're flying it. And so that is true. I have been in meetings where I've been told, oh, you should be doing this, and I'm going, wait, you've never even trained us on that. We don't know how to do that. So we're getting there. But we've got 3 in the cohort right now, and they're all established in other settings, getting their services from us. We were granted I think I had mentioned, we were going to be granted funding for both of the classrooms. We were given somewhere around 8,000 per classroom pre-K to kind of prepare from the DOE. And we have received our first quarterly child count for that program, which sits outside of the EPS form.
What type of services, like, is it mostly speech or is it?
Primarily speech, but there is some SDI being provided. There are some students in that cohort that are significantly delayed and have autism diagnosis and are nonverbal, and so they're receiving some specially designed instruction in the CDS preschools. So, yeah.
Any other questions for Heidi?
Oh, except for, I'm sorry, we do have one student that comes into our building only for the speech service.
Yeah.
And that's going very well.
Awesome.
I guess, so if somebody does get expelled, who is the person that is responsible to administer or police or keep records on the general ed? Is it someone in our building?
Yeah. It wouldn't be me to keep being responsible for the general ed, but it would be me for the special ed side of things.
I got you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Thank you, Heidi.
All right, thank you.
Okay, you're all set.
I have one question, but Pam had to step out of the room for a minute. She talked about a transfer. Do we have someone that's filling in that open spot that we have for bus driver custodian?
So we posted the position and we did have a person apply. And we have hired, we are in the process of hiring that person. They just need to they've already had the training, they need to take their bus driver test. They're here and helping with van runs and other things while we're finishing that. And I will tell you, I will not make any bones about this. Today was a really challenging day. We have bus drivers out sick, Kenny's driving. We're like, yeah, it's really complicated right now. When you drop down one driver and if there's anybody else sick, and then we had one out that was working on for that. They got hurt this week. It's made a very challenging day. Hoping tomorrow will be better, but
Do we have any like substitute fill-in bus drivers available in the district?
it's really hard to come up with a substitute bus
guess.
driver because they can all get positions
We
elsewhere.
gotta know the route.
Well, and if you're a bus driver with a bus driver's license, there are plenty of positions around us that are not filled. So they're working and they're not just coming
They're not
in
sitting
to
around waiting.
fill in.
No, I mean, just for somebody you can go to.
Just for the record, just because you haven't asked about it, it's really challenging right now.
You don't want that add to your title, right? We feel like.
Kenny had told me before, because I drive the van periodically, and I used to drive an 8-horse trailer. And he's like, I think you could probably pass your bus license, something like that. It's one thing I refuse to get my bus license.
I tried, that's it. I'll have to tell Kenny I tried.
Yeah, I remember 67.
All right, all set. Committee reports. Policy you can see is January 13th at 5 o'clock. Finance, Carl, do you have a date?
We had a date, I think,
We don't have a date set, but I'll ask Mary.
we keep talking about it. I apologize. I haven't seen Mary in a while. I'll go see Mary, see how that's going.
Curriculum committee is January 27th. I think you talked about the last one. Buildings and grounds, Bruce.
Nothing new.
Okay. Negotiations, nothing. Personnel. Ad hoc is Thursday, December 11th. I forgot what time, 4 p.m. At here.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Okay. Dropout prevention. is January 26th. You haven't met since we had our last meeting, so. Technology, we left,
He said we're having one soon.
yes.
I talked to him a couple days ago and
Okay.
he's trying to get the cat certificate.
Because the dates are on the agenda, some, and the other ones. Okay, what we're gonna do since,
I wonder if we could stay in here.
if you could, it's pretty quiet, and I'll tell them to stay in here. You wanna put Vivian in the kitchen? Okay.
She wanna say.
She can go to Jada.
I didn't hear that.
Vivian.
Here.
She's not gonna listen.
Well, the kids are out running around with that.
She might just be
Apparently, and,
Chime in.
Yeah,
okay,
what are we doing?
Exactly.
so, that we're entering into executive session pursuant to 1 MRSA subsection 6A to discuss the evaluation of the superintendent food. Could I get a motion,
So moved.
please? And the second? Second. All those in favor? We'll let, get off.